There's been this interesting thing that's happened over the past couple of years where saying the term slot receiver has almost turned into an insult. And it does make some sense. For the longest time, the person you would have as your slot receiver would be your third best receiver. However, that is far from the case in today's NFL. With the passing game being so important and with quick passes being so important, a slot receiver is more important now than ever. And quite frankly, one of the things the Bills really could have used last season would have been a slot receiver. I mean, they could have used a lot of things last year, let's be real, but slot receiver was definitely one of those things. It seemed like the receivers were always losing their one-on-one matchups, and this play will be a perfect example of just that. If you take a look, it's going to be a cover 3 zone, and those are the routes that the Bills will be running. These routes really are designed to beat man coverage or cover 2, however, since it's cover 3 zone, this really isn't going to be the best kind of route concept to run against this team. But it still could be okay, specifically because of that one route right there. That's not a tremendous route, however, it is something that can allow you to easily get the ball to a receiver, get the ball in the hands of that receiver, and then they can potentially try to pick up more yards after the catch. That's really the point of that route against this coverage, is you want to basically dump it off and hope that the receiver can make something happen after the catch. If you take a look, this is actually a perfect situation for a slot receiver. I mean, you have the ball, you have plenty of space, and you can try to make a move, however, that just isn't able to happen here. They ended up only gaining a couple of yards on this play, and the fact of the matter is, I really do feel like if they had Cole Beasley or a Cole Beasley type on this play, they could have gained a lot more yards, and there was plenty of examples of this throughout the Buffalo Bills season last year. It really did seem like a lot of times when Allen didn't dump off a pass to a receiver, it just didn't go for many yards, and again, a lot of teams don't have receivers that can gain a ton of yards on dump off. However, Cole Beasley is definitely one of those guys who can gain a ton of yards in those situations. He's definitely a guy that can help them out a lot in those situations, and I think he would be a very good asset to have on this Bills team paired with Josh Allen. The whole meme around Josh Allen going into last season was the fact that he's a great running quarterback, he's very tall, he looks great in shorts, however, he can't really throw very well. That was kind of the ongoing joke with Josh Allen, is he can do everything well except for throw the football. However, I don't think that's the case at all. I think that just was, a reason to laugh at the Bills, and it's not like they really need a reason if we're being honest. Sorry, Bills fans, that was an unfair shot, but come on, you guys know it's true. It's been a rough couple years for you guys. But anyways, one of the things I want to talk about with Josh Allen is the fact that he actually does make these short passes very well. When they have designed plays to be short passes, it can work out very nicely for them, and this is a very good example. If you take a look, it's going to be a cover 2 zone, however, it's a modified cover 2 zone, as what's actually going to happen is there's going to be an extra defender in coverage, meaning that Josh Allen will have to find a smaller window to try to hit it through. This play is designed to be the cover 2, however, it's designed to be the more traditional cover 2. The plus receiver on this play is supposed to be running that route right there, deep towards the sideline, and they're going to have another receiver run a pretty standard flat route and try to get in a gap in coverage right over there. Despite not having quite as big of a window, Allen still hits his receiver in the perfect spot where he can then make the catch and squeeze in between that gap in coverage even further after making the catch. And this is too easy for a receiver, as you're able to easily pick up a first down. It was really a great throw from Allen, and everything that Allen making those throws to Cole Beasley is seemingly just a match made in heaven. So there you go, Bills fans. I made fun of the Bills a little bit earlier, but now I'm talking about how Josh Allen is a good quarterback, so hopefully we're back on an even footing. Now, one of the problems I could still see coming up, even with Cole Beasley, is the fact that Cole Beasley is great against man coverage, and he's solid against zone coverage, but really he shines against man coverage as he can create matchup nightmares from the slot. He puts you in a unique situation of, do you put your number 1 corner in the slot, which most teams would say no, so therefore now you have Cole Beasley going up against linebackers or nickel corners, which is a good thing for Cole Beasley. So if you have a cover 2 zone like you see on the screen right now, this now takes away that middle part of the field, and makes it much tougher on slot receivers, and it can allow for more plays to develop downfield. However, it's basically hoping that you can't make throws to a slot receiver. That's sort of the idea behind this play, as those are the routes that the Bills are going to be running, and there will be a couple of routes that could get open, however, they're not going to be incredibly open. But again, if you have a great player, they can try to find a way to get open. However, the Bills definitely do not have a lot of great wide receivers. If you take a look now, both of these receivers are not doing a very good job of getting open, and they're pretty much both getting double teamed right now, which is the exact opposite of what you want to be in. Typically, the whole point of getting in between two guys' coverage is that neither one follows you and you're able to get open. But what's really crucial in plays like that is to get into your gap and coverage quickly, so that way defenders don't have time to react and close up that gap. And as you see here, both didn't get into their gap and coverage quickly, and now they're both closed up, and there's nowhere for Allen to throw the ball to. Now, Allen is going to make a mistake on this play. He rolls out of the pocket, tries to hit it off to the halfback running a wheel route on the outside, and ends up throwing an interception. It was a throw that he shouldn't have made. It's also one you totally expect a rookie quarterback to make, is you're trying too hard to make something happen, when in reality, he should have just thrown it away. And Allen does more often than not make something happen when he rolls out of the pocket, and will occasionally just make a mistake like this one. But I also think that's worth mentioning, as a good slot receiver then makes that play not happen. If your guy is open, Allen doesn't have to try to make something happen when there's nothing there, because there would be something there. There's a reason why people often don't talk about how good of a job Tom Brady does at making something happen when there's nothing there, because Tom Brady almost always has something there. Not to say that he's also not good at figuring out what to do when things go wrong and throwing the ball away or finding a guy who could be open that most people wouldn't expect. However, that's not what he's known for, largely because the Patriots have always done such a great job of game planning and finding good receivers to make sure that he can be able to make plays. And again, I'm not comparing the Bills to the Patriots because you can't compare any team to the Patriots. I'm just using that as an example. This plays another interesting example in my opinion. It's a cover 3 zone, and those are the routes that the Bills will be running. The whole goal in a play like this is to try to get defenders to bite onto play action, get the linebackers to move in, and then get a receiver to be open past the linebackers. It makes some sense. Opposing teams will be expecting a run on a situation like this because it is only on the 2-yard line, and you're just trying to pick up some yards to make sure you don't get safetied. But it doesn't really work out. The Los Angeles Chargers do a very good job of making sure they don't get fooled and staying back. Now if you take a look right here, there is an interesting situation happening. You got a receiver going up against a linebacker, and again, that should be a good situation for the Bills. I mean, he has a bit of separation. The problem, of course, is that he's running to where the linebacker is, so that's not great. But there is still some good news for the Bills, and really at this point, Allen only has one person he could even look to throw the ball to. But the receiver totally isn't able to win his matchup, and the linebacker ends up intercepting the pass. It does have to be mentioned that Allen shouldn't have made that throw since the receiver wasn't open. However, it also has to be mentioned that Allen sort of felt like he had to make this throw because his receivers often aren't open. If his receiver was open on that play, he wouldn't have had to make a bad play to a receiver that wasn't open because there would have been a receiver open that he could throw to. One of the key things that can hurt a quarterback in the passing game is not having a safety net, not having a guy you can always look to throw to if all else fails, and Josh Allen definitely did not have a safety net, or any kind of net for that matter, in Buffalo. They had a severe lack of receivers last year, and this play is a very good example. If you take a look at what Green Bay is going to do here, they're actually rushing 6 on this play. And of course, if you have 6 men rushing the passer, that means that your other 5 defenders have to be in charge of playing coverage on the other 5 eligible receivers, making it a cover 0 play. And that's perfect for Buffalo, as if you take a look, those are the routes they're going to be running, and there's 2 routes in particular that are great against this coverage. Really, Kelvin Benjamin's route on the bottom half of the screen is probably the best one, but either one of these could work, and honestly, either one of these could easily result in a touchdown if ran well. Allen's going to have to make the throw quickly, but if he can make the throw quickly, this could result in an easy touchdown. However, now if you take a look, one thing that you're going to notice is that the tight end who's running on the middle of the screen isn't going to be able to get to the end zone or get to his cut as quickly as you would like, which is understandable. I mean, he's a tight end, he's not that fast, so of course he's not going to be able to run as quickly to the end zone, but you would like to see him be able to do that, but since you can't, you get it, that's understandable, no real problem there. Really, the key thing to watch here is look at Kelvin Benjamin's route on this one. In my opinion, this is just a completely inexcusable play by an NFL wide receiver. I mean, typically I'm not the type of guy who likes to call people out and say what people are doing wrong. I'm typically much more big on talking about what guys do well. I feel like there's often too much negativity in the sports world, and I try to bring some positivity into it, although ironically my most popular video is one where I call out Jared Goff, so that's kind of ironic. But as a whole, I do try to talk about much more positive things than negative things on this channel, but to me, there's no way you can watch this and not have a negative reaction towards it. I mean, Benjamin starts walking while the play is still going on. I mean, that's just inexcusable in my opinion, because this is such a key route on this play. Benjamin is running a slant route against the cover 0. I mean, Antonio Brown would get super excited if that was the route he was running, and he would run as fast as he can to try to make that play happen. And so would 90% of the receivers in the league, honestly. You know, actually 99.9% of the receivers in the league would get super excited doing that. Clearly, Kelvin Benjamin was not the best guy to have on the roster back then. And again, I'm calling him out, but the reality is the receiving core as a whole just wasn't very good last year for Buffalo, and they're getting a much needed improvement by signing Cole Beasley. As I alluded to earlier, really when a slot receiver can really beat you is against man coverage. Like if you take a look at this play, for example, it's going to be pretty similar to a cover 1 hole, except the guy who's in charge of covering the middle of the screen is actually going to be covering a lot higher up to the top half of the screen, but other than that, it's a pretty simple cover 1 hole, and that's going to be Cole Beasley's route. This is pretty much the perfect way to beat that defensive play call, as there's going to be no one in coverage in him for most of his route, and he has a cut in his route, which is great against man coverage. And for Cole Beasley, when there's those two things combined, he can get open pretty easily. As of right now, I mean, I could have made this throw. Well, probably not. I'm not very good. But most guys can make this throw, especially NFL quarterbacks like Josh Allen. This would be an easy throw for him to make, and Dak Prescott is able to make this throw easily, and Cole Beasley is able to pick up a ton of yards. Beasley can dominate in man coverage. He's one of those types of guys that almost makes you have to play zone, but the fact of the matter is, when you play against zone coverage, he can beat you there as well. Like on this play, for example, the play call is actually pretty simple. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and what the Cowboys are going to do is have a tight end run that route right there, and basically the whole point of this play is to get a Jaguars defender to have to follow him deep down the screen, And then simply what they're going to do is send Cole Beasley on that route, and since the Jaguars defender who's in charge of covering that zone will have to move up, this will now allow Dak Prescott to throw underneath, hit it to Beasley, and they'll be able to pick up some yards. And as of right now, it's working out perfectly. The Jaguar does in fact stick with that tight end, and now Beasley's going to get wide open. But of course, anyone could pick up 5 or 6 yards on this play, but what makes a great player great is their ability to pick up more than that. He doesn't just make the catch, but he's then able to accelerate quick enough to get into the end zone for a touchdown. Really what makes Beasley so effective isn't speed, it's quickness. Many guys ran a faster 40-yard dash than Beasley did. However, when it comes to running and then making cuts, Beasley is just on another level. Like, if you take a look at this play, it's going to be cover 2 man, and that's the route that Cole Beasley is going to be running. Which is very similar to the first Cole Beasley play I showed you, as it's a great way to beat man coverage, and so that's a good situation for Beasley to be in. And now, if you notice, what I find very fascinating is look at where Beasley is pointed here. I mean, he's basically still facing the end zone, despite now being past that Jaguar who's in charge of covering him. While he is going to cut to the middle of the field, the Jaguars defender has no idea where he's going to cut. He can cut to the left or to the right or even cut back. There's no way of knowing, and then when Beasley finally does cut, he gets wide open easily. The fact of the matter is, that's nothing really too special. When you have a receiver who is running a route to the middle of the field, which has a cut in it, and it's against cover 2 man, you expect that receiver to be able to get open. That's really nothing too special. Really what's more interesting to me is how can a receiver get open even when the play call doesn't necessarily call for them to be able to get open. A lot of those plays I showed you earlier with the Bills weren't plays that were designed for the wide receiver to get wide open. They were kind of when plays went wrong. Will one plays go wrong? Can Cole Beasley still be effective? In my opinion, yes. And I think this play will show you why I feel that way. If you take a look, those are the routes that the Cowboys are going to be running. And it's also going to be a play action to the top half of the screen, and then Prescott is going to roll out to the bottom half of the screen. And so the whole goal on a play like this is to try to get the linebackers out of position. That's where Beasley is on this play, and at first, this isn't going to work out too well. As of right now, Beasley is getting covered up pretty nicely. There's a defender right on him, and basically at this point, his route is designed for him to run just straight to the bottom half of the screen. He's not supposed to go in any other direction. But he also realizes that he won't be as open if he does that. So what he's going to do instead is also run to the left side of the screen. This makes for an easier throw for Prescott. It gives him more space to be able to make a catch, and he is in fact able to make the catch. It's a subtle thing, but every subtle thing means a lot out of a slot receiver, and that's part of the reason why Cole Beasley is so good, is because he does the subtle things so well. One of the subtle things that often gets overlooked, just period, is footwork. I mean, footwork is so important, especially as a slot receiver, but really in any position, and Cole Beasley has some of the best footwork you'll see out of any position, but especially a slot receiver in the league. Like on this play, it's going to be a cover 3 zone, and that's the route that Cole Beasley is going to be running. Now if you take a look, he's going up against a linebacker as he is cutting in the middle of the field in a zone, and he's doing a very smart thing on this play. He's basically getting adjacent to whichever way the linebacker is facing. He's now going to move his feet a little bit back and forth to basically fake as though he could be running up the middle of the field and try to get open ahead of the linebacker, but he's also faking as though he could be running to that side of the screen. Really, there's no way for the Giants linebacker to know where he's going, and he kind of has to just stay where he's at. This is actually pretty similar to a thing you would see right at the line. However, since it is in this part of the field, it's very interesting, but Beasley still handles it the same way. He uses his footwork to allow himself to get past the linebacker, and now he's wide open, and it makes for an easy catch. If he had just kept running straight up, well, there's still a good chance that he would get open, as most wide receivers are faster than linebackers. However, because he did this little extra move, this now allowed him to get even more open. One thing I want to talk about when it comes to a slot receiver is something I mentioned in one of the Josh Allen plays I showed you earlier, and it's not just about a receiver being able to get open and make a catch, but also then be able to pick up more yards after the catch. What you're going to see on this play is the Giants are actually going to do something very unique. We're going to have a 6-man rush, but they also have a safety back. For all you math fans out there, this means that there's going to be one safety, 6 men rushing, meaning that only 4 men can play one-on-one coverage. This now means that nobody is covering the halfback, and if it was a throw to the halfback, it could be very good news. However, the whole goal is that you're trying to make things happen so quickly that Prescott doesn't realize which of one of his men is going to be unguarded, and in theory make a bad decision. And since there still is a safety back, the worst thing that can happen, in theory, again, is about 15-20 yards. And that's actually going to work, as Prescott isn't going to throw it to his halfback, but that's okay. If you take a look at how far back a defensive back is playing against Cole Beasley. Really, you don't want to play that far back against Cole Beasley, and especially when he's running this kind of route, as he's going to be cutting before that defensive back gets to where he is, and it's not going to allow Beasley to get very open. Because he played so far back, and because of the route Beasley was running, and because of the coverage the Giants are running, this is now going to allow Beasley to be wide open in the middle of the field. But again, that was all just kind of easy. That kind of just happened by happenstance. I mean, Beasley is quick and was able to pick up a couple more yards because of that, but the reality is, most slot receivers would be able to pick up yards on this play. But what's worth noting is that the Giant who's in charge of covering him is going to have to be running very fast fast in that direction as he's trying to now make a tackle. Beasley doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, so he doesn't know which area that defender is going to be coming in from. However, he still does a very good job of cutting around and getting past that defender and then being able to run downfield. He easily picks up another 10 to 12 yards just from that one little move, and it's really an impressive move if you think about it. I mean, he sort of just knows from those types of plays where the defender could be coming in from, and he's able to cut without even looking. Beasley's a great player, and honestly, I think he would fit with Josh Allen's skill set absolutely perfectly. He's not going to turn a 5-team win into a 15-team win, but let's be honest, nobody is. It takes a lot more than just one player to have that kind of an impact. But he should be a very big impact player for the Bills next season. I think he'll fit in perfectly, and I fully expect Josh Allen to be throwing it to him a lot next year. Thanks for watching my video on Cole Beasley going to the Buffalo Bills. And be honest, we all totally thought he was going to the Patriots, right? But anyways, feel free to follow me on both Instagram and Twitter. The link is in the description below, so all you have to do is click the link if you want to follow me, or don't if you don't want to follow me. It's up to you, it's your life.